Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation. I hope everyone had a nice lunch. Now let's hold off the nap till 20 minutes after I finish this presentation. So today I'm going to be talking about integrating data science, theory, and practice to drive customer retention. No one is likely a stranger to customer retention, yet it's often misunderstood. The concept for customer retention is easy to grasp, but how to effectively manage it can be challenging. So how do we effectively bridge the divide between the two is a focus for today's talk. Before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Linda, and then I lead the analytics and data science team at HyreCar. I have had extensive experience helping business laying out analytics foundations and creating roadmaps that empower business growth. During today's talk, I will go over a holistic approach, highlighting the role machine learning and data science play in driving customer retention, demystifying the concept so all stakeholders are on the same page, and then creating infrastructure that will fuel the business day to day. Let us embark. Storytelling is an important component of any data science initiative. It's often said that data science is both an art and a science. The story data tell is what brings the art to the fore. In that same vein, my talk is organized as a part of a story. We'll start looking by the 2022 data analytics trend. When looking forward, it's prudent to create a setting where data is transformed into impact. Nowadays, many companies rely on building a data science foundation and a framework to drive growth. However, there are many playbooks, but theory and practice do not usually align. There's always something missing, and that is a human element. So how do we effectively integrate theory and practice? We'll also look at some real impact and concrete applications. Good storytelling requires context and interpretation. Even though here the focus is customer retention, it's part of a wider discourse to look at data through a renewed lens. Like a renaissance in the old days, where a variety of factors play at the same time to spark a rebirth. We are right now at the age of data renaissance, where to leverage the utility of novel data and advanced techniques requires a new take, a holistic approach that melds disparate factors together. To help provide some guidelines, let's look at what Gartner identifies as 2022 data and analytics trend. Activate dynamism and diversity, augment people and decisions, institutionalize trust. Therefore, the customer retention efforts has to be in line with that. To effect that change, we have to develop a solid understanding of customer and apply that understanding to business and bring about more value. Nowadays, it's easy to be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of data business collect. In order to harness the data, analysis plays a key role to distill that information into digestible chunks. Uncovering the relations and connections to tie those chunks together leads to understanding. Because HyreCar is a marketplace business, we have two distinct set of customers, vehicle drivers and vehicle owners. This graphic does a good job encapsulating the common pursuit we all share in transforming data into impact. It illustrates the stages one goes through, starts from the raw data, then using the information to define the customer retention, leveraging knowledge and expertise to transform it into insight and wisdom, eventually realizing it into impactful decisions and actions. Now the stage is set. How do we flesh the details out? Let us dive straight in. There's no disgrace to proudly proclaim that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. To paraphrase Isaac Newton, we are able to see further and do more because we can rely on what other people have built. building data science foundation and the framework is a must for business to capitalize the investment in transforming data into impact. Here at HyreCar, we are able to take advantage and build on top of the existing HyreCar data ecosystem. This is a high-level overview of the HyreCar data ecosystem. It illustrates the stages about how data flow through different systems. Generation from the internal system with the third-party system, web and app, front end and the back end, then to intermediary data where data is stored and streamed into multiple places, then to the commodity data where data is curated step by step for analysis and modeling, and then fly back to the business system to inform decision making. Utilizing this data ecosystem, both business stakeholders and data scientists, data analysts can obtain the intelligence when they need in an accurate and confident way and then advanced performance. One would think our efforts to drive customer retention is simple. However, it may not be the case because there's usually a disconnect between data scientists and what is the business expectations in terms of customer retention. Usually, the data scientist work sits in a black box where the business stakeholders' input is taken at the beginning and the improvement feedback is secured at the end. Good storytelling requires common context and shared interpretation. Let us use churn as an example. Lots of times, people tend to think of churn just as a number or a metric, rather than a set of indicators of customer behaviors. The questions we should be asking ourselves are, as a business, what did we do that leads to customer turnover? What behaviors did customers do that indicate they're leaving? And how can we improve the customer relationships, optimize the products and the services to prevent it from happening? Additionally, there's always a tendency to use the machine learning like techniques or any other hard techniques without first evaluating if they make sense or not. What's more, we cannot limit ourselves by the limited data we have available for analysis and prediction. Another potential negative is whether or not these data science products can bring value to end users. People may expect business stakeholders use these products and dive straight in and to drive their day-to-day. However, it may not be the case. Nominally, data science projects sits under the purview of the data team with little interactions to business. This leads to a disconnect between what these products are and who these products are intended for. If the products are not created in a timely manner or straightforward enough to navigate, all these expanded efforts may be in vain. To bring the customer retention story back on track, we have to integrate theory and practice. This also mitigates the issue of heavily relying on the black box approach. Usually, a black box approach is a result of data science applying techniques without accounting for the concept and interpretation. Nowadays, with the rise of sophisticated autonomous techniques driven by AI, people tend to spend less time thinking about how the system works and why do they reach certain conclusions. As a result, the end products may not be used to answer the original business question. Even in the best scenario, the predictions made based on these black box approaches do not give insights into the underlying mechanism. This is not enough for customer retention. Only by understanding the why can real impact be achieved. In order to do it, data scientists and the business stakeholders have to work hand in hand from the get-go to establish a common understanding. In addition to making sure data scientists have a good understanding about the business, in the meanwhile, empowering stakeholders to be more hands-on with data, this also reduces the risk, confusions about how and why the techniques are applied. Another facet of integrating theory and practice is employing a holistic approach. As I had alluded to at the beginning, we are lucky to be able to take advantage of advances other people built in the field of data science. Nowadays, at the age of data renaissance, we can craft customized solutions to fit business need. One may be bedazzled by the allure of hot techniques, but let us not forget about the merit of traditional analytics. First, to drive customer retention, we have to find the sweet spot between the traditional analytics and advanced analytics. Usually, descriptive analysis is considered traditional and predictive analytics is considered advanced. We have to use the descriptive analysis to lay a solid foundation to build on top with advanced analytics. Now that we have employed a holistic approach, let us not forget one final detail. Since we are talking about customer retention, we have to proactively seek the digital breadcrumbs of the customer data, behavior data. Whenever I try to illustrate something, one of my go-tos is real estate because it's straightforward enough for everyone to relate to. In this case, what do we see when a house is listed then gets sold? On the surface level, we can see the list price, the sold price, how many days the house is on the market, and then the pricing adjustment along the way. All is very informative, but what if we have the buyer behavior data available? We can zoom in the process and to understand what is the searching activities, what is the preferences about locations and attributes, must-haves, deal makers, and deal breakers. To get the customer retention story straight, we have to use the right data. Here at HyreCar, we leverage Snowplow to collect the customer events data in order to describe customer behavior. We have 300 events defined and constantly adding more. For each event, we define more than 130 attributes to fully describe customer behaviors. Time for a big review. What is my customer retention recipe? Combine all the elements we talked about so far to distill a single purpose. Of course, the final product is not complete without a dash of my secret sauce. Driving customer retention requires constantly testing new hypotheses and exploring data to break new ground and moving forward. Goals such as that cannot be met when only internal data is available. So how organizations can affordably acquire a broader collection of data to meet that goal? One answer is public datasets. One intriguing aspect of public-private data integration is that it gives the capability to explore both cause and effect. For example, we can analyze the impact of weather patterns to traffic. We can also compare our customer profiles with census data. We can also leverage third-party enriched data, such as employment data. At HyreCar, we also leverage telematics data, which gives us insights into the driving behaviors and patterns that benefits both vehicle drivers and owners. All these external data give us expanded context and perspective needed that benefit both descriptive and predictive analytics. What does my customer retention recipe make of churn? Let me walk you through our churn model. Fully embracing the holistic approach we advocate, We don't simply accept that customer is churning or making a retention offer to those at most risk is best we can do. Instead, we focus heavily on why they are leaving and endeavor to make them happier proactively. So here is an illustration of the explanatory variables and the response variables. We categorize the explanatory variables into 4 groups: customer profile data, payment behavior data, usage behavior data, and the risk profile. We look at the response variables from multiple dimensions. First is contractual churn, such as transaction, or non-contractual churn, such as usage. We also look at if the customer is going to churn and how likely they are going to churn. One key of success is to move away from roll-day or on-day mindset, but delve more into the inherent uncertainty in prediction. As you may notice, I use a roadmap diagram to illustrate the model in order to interpret that the results of customer churn is a combination of factors based on a variety of data. Unlike the black box approach mentioned before, which abstracts away too much, we have to understand the parameters that impacts the customer churn indicators. This also of the interest of other business functions, such as product and marketing. All these efforts we put in understanding customer retention pave a way for us to create a full picture of customer lifecycle. As we all know, customer retention is tightly coupled with all stages of customer lifecycle as early as acquisition and heavily intertwined with different business functions. We identify the real usage of the product with milestones and build a 360 full funnel view, including the vehicle owners, drivers, rentals, and vehicles. What does that picture look like? Here is a high-level overview of a customer journey for both vehicle owners and vehicle drivers. Customer data is mapped through each stage during this entire journey. We not only look at the interactions between different stages, but also zoom in each stage to look at the micro steps within the milestone. For those of you who have sharp eyes, please excuse our sense of humor. Since we are in this gig economy car rental business, the label growth and the retention is intentional. Embracing this journey is very fruitful. Along the way, we are able to obtain a host of benefits that can benefit other data science projects. We create a full set of customer data covering the profiles, risks, and behaviors. We create a set of dashboards that we can monitor in the real time for the customer behavior. We have a full set of productionized model deployed that constantly help us to optimize customer retention and acquisition efforts. I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation. I organized my talk as part of a story because I believe everyone has his or her own story to tell. Don't be afraid to stand on the shoulders of the giants and making your own adventure in this age of data renaissance. I'll be so pleased if my story can spur you on to create your own. Since we are running out of time, but this is my contact information. For any questions or feedbacks, please feel free to reach out. Thanks again.